I was looking for the elevator, and I said, hi. Marguerite said, you're Father John Walsh, Marguerite Corriveau. And she said, I think I interviewed you 3 or 4 years ago. Maybe 5 or 6 years ago. Good evening. It is really an honor for me to be here tonight. And I'd like to begin by thanking Linda and Sheldon and family for inviting me to say a few words on this really great occasion. I'm reminded that the melody of each song is a story waiting to be experienced. Music transcends the lyrics and touches the heart and soul as never before. Music arrests the mind and allows the purity of one's emotions to erupt. Music completes a person's education to respect the whole person. Music is the lifeline to the fullness of the heart and an invitation to mindfulness. Music has, yes, a past. Music has a past as its origin, and although we will hear it over and over again, music centers us in the now. In the now, we discover how we are one with all of creation, with all of its creatures, with all of humanity. And we're one with all, and all are present to us through music in the now. Music breaks down walls that separate people who speak different languages and live in unknown cultures, and the strength of music builds bridges of hope for a better world. Music doesn't shy away from what is the suffering and pain of life, but faces suffering and pain and embraces it to discover its meaning. Music also brings us the ecstasy of the absolutely unimaginable feeling of being out of this world. The composers and musicians are the lifeline of a life of possibilities, which we need so desperately today. A life of possibilities offers us a life of surprises. Sheldon Kagan breathed and lived music all his life, especially all of his professional life, which began when he was a young teenager 10 or 20 years ago. He stood above the crowd and became an impresario, and that came with tenacity and determination. Linda, his wife, his family, always at his side. Through those 50 years, and she more than anyone, Linda supported and encouraged Sheldon because she was part and parcel of his success. We certainly know that behind every successful man, there stands a very strong woman. Sheldon's biography will soon be published, and readers will be absolutely amazed at how his contributions transformed Montreal into a city where performers came from far and wide because Sheldon assured them that Montreal was the most receptive city in the world to all of their talents. His stories are filled with a teenager's desire for success and the risks that he took to realize his early dreams. He never gave up. If there was failure in Sheldon's life, we don't know what it was, but we all have some kind of failure in our lives. But he learned as much as he could from all of life and forged ahead with a new drive to face what many would have considered absolutely impossible. But as we all grow older, I'd like to tell you the story about George. George was 82 years old, and Ethel was 78 years old. They'd been seeing each other for 2 years when they decided that life was too short, they might as well get together for the rest of their lives. Excited about their decision to become newlyweds, they went for a stroll to discuss the wedding and what plans needed to be made. Along the way, they found themselves in front of a drugstore. George said to his bride-to-be, "Let's go in. I have an idea." They walked to the rear of the store and addressed the man behind the counter. "Are you the owner?" The pharmacist said, "Yes, sir. How can I help you?" "Do you sell heart medications?" "Of course we do." "How about support hose for circulation?" "Definitely." What about medications for rheumatism, osteoporosis, and arthritis, all kinds? How about waterproof furniture pads and depends? Yes, sir. Hearing aids, dental supplies, and denture supplies, and reading glasses? Yes, yes. What about eye drops, sleeping pills, Geritol, preparation hay for X-Lax? Absolutely. Do you sell wheelchairs, walkers, and canes, all kinds and sizes? Why all of these questions? George smiled, glanced shyly at Ethel, and replied, "You see, we've decided to get married, and we'd like to use your store as our bridal registry." Music doesn't have an age. It's always youthful. And even when you hear music for 100th time, there's something new. Something that you didn't hear before. You see, here at Vanier last year, Sheldon donated his enormous record collection and much of the equipment for the benefit of this generation of students and for many generations of students in the future. Today, another moment in the history of Vanier College that needs to be told. The public recognition of Linda and Sheldon Kagan, who amidst all his successes never forgot to give back to the community generously and freely. Personally, I was the recipient of his talents at so many weddings. He was the first one I knew who, when we were asked for the bride and groom to kiss, as they kissed, the whole table stood up and said, 9-5, 9-3, 7-8. He had a way of being able to make sure we all were having a good time. But I know that every Christmas in Bonsecourt, for the past 12 years, we have fed 500 people who otherwise would not have a holiday meal. The meal was first class, I can guarantee that. But the smiles on the faces of the guests began to spread from ear to ear when Sheldon turns up the music and people made it to the dance floor. It became outrageous. Maybe that characterizes Sheldon Kagan. He is an outrageous human being who cares for music as it transformed the lives of women and men into lives of hope, at least for that one moment. Music is that which Sheldon loved throughout his life, and as we thank Sheldon today, as we reach into the unfathomable depths of how music can change the moment into the now, it becomes not a now, but an eternal now, for all of us, because it makes us become better people. Sheldon, thank you for showing us the way. God bless you.
Like many people, I knew who Sheldon Kagan was, or is, but I had never met Sheldon Kagan. About a year ago, I got a call from him asking him whether I would consider helping him write his memoirs. The way I knew about Sheldon Kagan is when I worked for the Gazette, I was the obituaries editor. And I had, at the age of 65, when the Gazette still wrote local obituaries, we have a file, and we start preparing for the eventual end of famous people in Montreal. Sheldon, of course, was famous enough that I was assigned to start doing work on his obituary. There's more to the story. So I got this call, and we fenced with each other. I mean, look, Sheldon, as you know, is a self-made man. And he is absolute proof that it is possible to do the impossible. I also have to say to what Father John Walsh said, he could not have done the impossible without the great sustaining force in his life, his wife, Linda, wherever she is. Now, you have to understand, I have only known these people for a year. Sheldon and I kind of fenced, and he said, so I need this book. I said, yeah, it's going to take about 2 years. No, No, I need this book in 6 months. Sheldon, it's going to take at least 2 years. No, I don't have 2 years. I need it in 6 months. Well, speaking of the possible to do the impossible, I don't know why, Sheldon, but I agreed to do it. And we worked on it. Sheldon worked on it. Linda worked on it. At the end of 6 months, I was so pleased. We had a book. And I invited Sheldon and Linda down to the old Mount Stephen Club. I was so proud of myself. We had a book. And I gave it to Sheldon. And there was a great look of disappointment in his face. Now, the one thing about Sheldon Kagan I've learned even in 6 months is what a wonderful and generous and kind man he is. And he doesn't want to hurt anybody. And so you feel really hurt that you haven't been able to make him happy. So he looked at it and he said, Alan, it's only 150 pages. I want 200. I want 200 pages. Well, to make a long story short, Sheldon, as you know, the book will be out within a year. We've been working at it for a year. Sheldon, I think, has got what he has wanted. It is very much his book. I'm very proud to have worked with him on it. I was fortunate to be able to work with it. And if you want to know how Sheldon Kagan managed to accumulate something like 80,000 records to give to Vanier College, you're going to have to read the book. This is the prototype of the cover. I think we've approved that, have we? No? Okay. Sheldon, thank you. It's the contribution, Sheldon, to Vanier is extremely significant. We're very, very, very delighted, and thank you for allowing me to be part of your trip.
You know, being here tonight is really an honor, and it made me realize that Sheldon and I, we have a few things in common, but only a few. I can only dream of accomplishing what he did through his life. I started as a DJ pretty much at the same age as he did. I was 14 or 15 years old. And I'll be honest, it's been 40 years. 25 years of those were with Sheldon, and what a blessing those years were. Yes, I'm old enough. I don't know if there's many people here who've been DJing for a few years, but I'm old enough to remember having to lug these LPs around in milk crates. These were heavy, and only the real DJs will know this, but you used to be able to carry those in milk crates when they were not 2 liters, but they were like the old style imperial milk crates. When they switched to metric, well, we were in trouble. We were looking for those crates. Remember Sheldon? See, he knows. So yeah, 25 years with Sheldon. And I have to say, I have to build on what Father John said. And he mentioned that behind every great man, there's a great woman. Well, I'd like to build on that. I'd like to say that I've been blessed to know Sheldon and his family all these years. And Sheldon was not only behind him, sometimes she was beside him, and sometimes she was in front of him, pulling him through some tough times. So I think she deserves a great round of applause. It takes a special kind of woman. It takes a special kind of woman to be involved in that business day and night. I know that Sheldon doesn't sleep much. I don't know how that fared with sharing a bed with him, but must have been tough. So, and he raised two beautiful children. Only Marlene is here tonight. And again, I think his children are really a testimony to the great values that Sheldon and Linda would like to represent. They're really giving. I think you've heard about that. They're also, I like to say, you know, like through the first few years, Sheldon was of the tough love school of thought with me. And that helped me grow. And I did things with him, through him, and for him that I never thought I'd do. It's hard for you to believe this tonight, but I was the shy guy in high school. And with Sheldon, I managed to host like major events at Place des Arts. I was on TV a few times, TV interviews. I can only imagine my classmates watching TV on a Sunday morning going, "Is that the Guy Trottier from high school?" Can't be. Anyways, all this to say, thank you, Sheldon, for the great experience that I've lived through all these years. I count myself blessed to be a friend of yours and your family. Thank you. Thank you, Linda. Godspeed.
Well, being in radio, I got to tell you, I'm a little bit uncomfortable this evening. I don't normally see the people that listen to me talk. But so many great other people spoke before me, so I just want to say a few words. First of all, I think I've known Sheldon for the shortest period of time that anyone else has come up here and spoke. We have a lot in common in weird ways that we love music. Music really pulls at your heartstrings. And you know, you'll leave today and you'll hear other music as well from some nice people like Peter Purple. Excellent singing, by the way. My wife wanted to be your backup singers earlier, so just want to let you know about that. And Patsy Gallant, good evening. I play you on my show, ça fait plaisir. Ben oui, New York to LA. Yeah. And I remember I believe it was the Commodores show, that I wanted to give you my seat in the front row because there was a seat missing. Yes, and Sheldon came over. I will find her another seat. Thank you very much. And I got to tell you, you have a twin in the world. My mother-in-law looks exactly like you. As a matter of fact, when we go out to dinner sometimes, the three of us, people go, "Is that Patsy Gallant?" I said, "Yeah, that's my mother-in-law." Mother-in-law. How can I not love my mother-in-law? Thank you for the skill testing moment of the show. And my wife is always mistaken for Julie Le Breton. So I walk in with two lovely ladies and like, yeah. I digress. Let's get back. All right. So Sheldon, 50 years, started at the age, I think, of 18. Taken professional at all when he's 19 years old. Call me back when you're a little bit older. So there's a little story when he got flown to New York to meet somebody. I don't know if you had the beard then, but he got flown to New York first class, met with the person, and signed up like an amazing contract deal. So I'm totally amazed by that because I left home when I was 16. And when you introduced me by saying I grew up on the Maine, I don't know if you know where the Maine is in Montreal, Saint-Laurent, Sainte-Catherine. It's like the most wealthiest and financial people in the world in Montreal, really. It's a tough place to grow up, but you leave from there and things go on. Some of the great stuff that you have done for us is, I remember at a young age, listening to television and seeing these commercials brought to you by Sheldon Kagan, and I said, man, how does he do that kind of stuff? And now I find out like he started off at 19. So it's amazing. I left home at 16 because I went for passion, I went for dream, I went around the world doing sports and stuff. Never to ever think that I'd be doing radio. And that's how Sheldon and I met. I believe it was either an email or a phone call, and I'm listening to him, and to me, he's a big huggy bear. You know, you look at him, he speaks so softly, and he goes, you know, Mickey, and this is like, let's say, on the morning show. So I start at 6 in the morning, go till 10, and then, you know, I'll call him back, say, call me now, and he calls me, and, you know, I was thinking of something. Okay, every 2 songs I'm talking, I'm doing something. Yeah, Sheldon, what is it? Well, I was thinking about doing this and maybe doing that, and what do you think, and that kind of stuff. So that's how a relationship started. And then I just wanted to be involved with somebody what I grew up with listening to, TV, radio, hearing about all these Sheldon Kagan productions. And I said, man, how does he do it all the time? It's a weird world. He met his wife during work, I believe, where he sort of said, I don't have that song, but if you give me your phone number, I'll find it for you and that. I met my wife while performing, and it worked. Well, mine did too. I met my wife while performing at a blues festival, doing my 3rd concert. My hands were falling down as a percussionist, and I saw her in the crowd, and I said, if she's as beautiful and as honest as she looks, I'm marrying that woman. 4 months later, I asked for her hand. A year ago, we've been married, and ever since we've been going along. And she carries some equipment too, Sheldon. She does to my shows sometimes. She helps me, and I don't want her to. So behind every man, there is a great woman. And they're amazing, and they're right beside you, and they're fantastic. And then one day, I'm in our house in the washroom, and my wife's on the internet, and she goes, Sheldon Kagan's producing this thing at the Congress Center, because, you did the Salon de la Mariée, which we went to, and he was so generous with us. He's running this big, huge Palais du Congrès. Comes out, he says, when you come, park the car, come upstairs, ask for me, and next thing you know, he's taking us all around. And then he stops, picks up a rose that says, I love you, gives it to my wife. Thank you, that was from me, right? We have those photos of him doing it. Always taking the time. Everything's under control. I'm going to take care of you personally, all right? So then I get back to, I'm in the washroom shaving or something. Says, hey, honey, Sheldon's producing this because he did the Salon de la Mariée, Salon de la Commerce, I think it was. And then there was this other one that I heard, Salon des Hooters. And I start walking down the hallway. I'm going, Hooters? And she's going, no, not, because my wife has a French accent. She's French-Canadian. Not Hooter, Boomers. I go, oh, that'll be a memorable event. It's going to be, of course, well done and everything. So you've done that. You've hosted Artie Shaw at Grover, Washington, being my favorites, especially Grover, Washington. All I can say is for Vanier College, what you have here, boy, schools have changed since I went to CJEP. Let me tell you, we had a music department. This is amazing, all right? I see for you in the future being maybe a guest professor teaching here, Sheldon, because I know you're retired. And what that means is, well, let's see, what's the next thing I'm going to produce? I'm involved in this, I'm involved in that. Yeah, your retirement. Yeah, I like the way you say that. So for Vanier, amazing. This is beautiful. I hope all the students come here and study a lot and learn from it, that the world gets invited, maybe do tours or something like that. But everyone asks, in finishing, everyone asks, what's in the name? To me, Sheldon Kagan, you see the letters S-K. Surely a kind person. Surely quality. Surely Sheldon Kagan. And lastly, because in radio we keep talking. And lastly, there is the book that's out, fantastic. I just want to let you know on a rumor, I just got it just on my phone, there's a text. We're looking at Sheldon Kagan, the movie, and you're giving me a role in the film. Thank you so much, Sheldon.
Thank you very much, Marguerite. Ladies and gentlemen, Vanier College staff, family and friends of our special guests. It is indeed a great pleasure that we welcome Lyndon and Sheldon Kagan to Vanier College to officially inaugurate the Linda and Sheldon Kagan Music Collection. This collection features an extensive array of albums, CDs, books, music tapes, and music equipment. As many of you already know, Sheldon provided entertainment for weddings, corporate, and special events since 1965. Over 5 decades, Sheldon Kagan International produced over 75 major concerts, bringing to Montreal artists such as Dionne Warwick, the Commodores, Miles Davis, George Benson, Ravi Shankar, Dizzy Gillespie, Gene Krupa, the Glenn Miller Orchestra, the Duke Ellington Orchestra, Buddy Rich, and many, many more. As one of Vanier's most popular programs, music has produced many successful graduates, including, among others, Patrick Watson, one of the headliners at the Osheaga Festival. Such outstanding graduates of our music program are produced not only thanks to the dedicated and talented faculty, but also thanks to materials and resources that support music training. And in that sense, Sheldon Kagan's generous, very generous donation will give our students the opportunity to use materials and hear music that will deeply enrich their training and knowledge of music, history, and of the entertainment business in Montreal. The collection of recordings, somewhere in the range of 10,000 LPs, 45 RPM singles, CDs, and cassettes, covers popular music from the 1940s until today, as well as recordings by lesser-known artists. The historical significance cannot be overstated and will serve as a valuable source of study material for students and faculty in all areas of the music program and indeed the entire college. Linda and Sheldon's generous donation to Vanier will also help ensure that a whole new generation of students can listen to and appreciate music and artists that they might not otherwise have had a chance to hear. As well, the material will be available through the library, will be used by students from all 5 Vanier music programs. Music, the double-deck programs in science and music, social science and music, or languages and cultures in music, and the 3-year professional music and song techniques program. As a very much an amateur guitarist, but with a deep love of music from the 60s and 70s, I can honestly say that this is one impressive collection, and I look forward to listening to many of these albums with all the memories they will certainly evoke. Once again, thank you, Sheldon and Linda, for providing these musical treasures to Vanier College. We feel absolutely privileged to be their new home. And please know that they will benefit Vanier students today and for generations to come. Thank you very much.
I like this better. I can get the raspy voice. I can change my voice to sound like whatever I want to. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you all for coming this evening. Exactly 2 years ago, when we did the event here in Vanier in the auditorium, it was amazing. And I took all the YouTube posts from the newspapers and TV and radio and did a montage, and the headline is that this was one of the most incredible days of my entertainment history, and maybe tonight might just even be a bigger incredible day than that, which is great. It's been really wonderful for me. In 1965, I started collecting records. I was living at home, my parents' house on Westbury, listening to radio announcers Dave Boxer, and dialed his phone numbers. He had 4 phone numbers. I still remember 276, 2614, etc. We all had rotary telephones, and what I would do is if he was going to say, we're going to do a contest, and whoever dials his phone number, wins the prize, I would dial 276-261, and then he'd say, dial now, and I would just do 4. He said, oh no, not Sheldon Kagan again. And it was crazy. I won trips to meet the Beatles in Toronto, the Rolling Stones at the Paul Sauvé Arena, and that's how I started the records. And then I said, wow, this is interesting. Why don't I become a DJ? And I was living at home and, wasn't really into school. Did a little bit of research and found out that everything was all about bands and orchestras. There was no such thing as a mobile DJ. And I said, okay, my name is now Shelley the K, and I'm going to be a mobile DJ and go out there. I just had such a passion that I wasn't into school. My parents had other plans for me. So just before I turned 16, I left home, went 4 blocks away, rented an apartment on DeCarey, and that was it. My mom wasn't happy, and I said, just give me a couple of days, we'll get it together. And she came to see me and started doing laundry and everything else. And I walked from my house on DeCarey and Van Horn to St. Paul's Church, which is right opposite the Jewish General Hospital. And I walked in and saw the priest and said, "Hey, I'm Sheldon the K. Why don't we do a party for everyone here in the church?" And he looked at me, "What? What is Sheldon the K? What radio station do you work at?" I said, "I don't work on radio. I'm going to bring my records and my turntables and hula hoops and a limbo pole." He wasn't biting. And I said, "Give me a chance. I'll charge you $25. He said, "Call me back. Come see me in a few days." I went back, same story, and he gave me a chance. And I did my first party at St. Paul's Church, which was a great, great party. And the next day I walked back home. I didn't have a car. And I passed a Snowden Y and went to see them and sold them the same story. So now I had 2 parties under my belt, and the rest is history. As time went on, I hired more people. At one point, I had 7 DJs and 5 bands, and we can do 12 parties on any given night. So all that said, that was all done with these vinyl records that are here tonight. And Guy, you're right, carrying these records was amazing. I mean, we had milk crates full of records. And in the early years, I couldn't afford transport people to deliver, so all the DJs picked up their records and their turntables and went out and did the gigs. That all changed when things picked up and we had it all delivered and just went and did the parties. So after the DJing, I started to get into concerts. In 1969, I did my first concert, Dizzy Gillespie and Gene Krupa at Place des Arts. Tickets were $350 to $650. Since then, I've brought all kinds of performers, and as Alan knows for the book, I have an incredible number of stories. I've kept all the contracts with all the performers, pictures with all the performers. It's all there, and very soon, Alan, the book will be out, right? Yes, thank you. Alan, you've been amazing, because he's had to put up with a lot, because, I thought, we can put out a book in 6 months, and the truth is, in less than a year, the book will be finished, and it's going to be really, really interesting. So, my family has always been involved and supportive. My son Barry helped me since he can walk as a model, and Marlene modeled at my shows, and Barry started coming with me to all the parties, and one of the first things he said, "These records are really heavy, Dad, couldn't we get someone to bring them to the parties?" So that all worked itself out, and Linda at some point said enough of the parties, so Barry took over, and that was really, really good. So, basically that's it. We've expanded. We did parties in Jamaica. We did parties in St. Lucia. So everything is about DJ and records. Now, when I retired 2 years ago, I said, what are we going to do with the records? We lived in a house, and the whole basement was full of records. I said to Linda, well, why don't we just rent a storage locker and put it there? And she said, well, for what? Just rent, and what are we going to do? And I said, well, okay, let's do some research. So we reached out, found out, the different places that I thought the records could go to. We spoke to Vanier, we spoke to McGill, we spoke to the McCord Museum. I came to see the people at Vanier, went to see the different department heads. There's half a dozen professors here that have worked in bands for me, so I reached out to them and realized that Vanier has an amazing, amazing music program. And that was really important to me. And the other important part is what's going to happen to the records? Are they going to be safe? Is it going to be protected? These were my babies. So it was a little bit like probably the first time I wanted to meet a boy that my daughter was going to date. I wanted to know everything. And that's what happened with Vanier. I came in, talked, called, did a little bit of research, did some surveys, and in the end, we are really, really happy. We made the right decision. Vanier is a great place. The music school is great. And it's so wonderful to know that these records are going to be a legacy that's going to live on forever. There's a couple of interesting things in the library. One of them, in the back of the room, there's a couple of turntables that are connected to an amplifier. If you put a record on that turntable, there's headphones for you to listen to, because you're certainly not going to listen with speakers in a library. And then also, if you click another button and click the mouse, you'll be able to upload the song into the computer. You can then put that onto a USB key, take it home, do anything you want with it. So these records are available for you to take, play for your family, play for your friends. So technology is great. And I even have some of my old equipment, my first SL 1200 turntable, and It's been a lot of history. It was emotional. It wasn't easy to do, but just from going from the house to the condo was great. Retiring was great. Linda and I are traveling. We're doing events in the entertainment industry, but only for nonprofit and charity organizations. So for the last 2 years, I chose 5 charities each year. We've done some great concerts with great performers. Some of the performers are here tonight. And that's what our plan is to do. Do events, do something that keeps me happy and that I do best. I have all these entertainers that I've had great relationships with that are happy to work with me. So we'll keep supporting community organizations. Travel, everything's about family. I'm really happy, that both our kids are married, grandchildren. Life is good.